Hey everybody, Shay here. Time for a book haul video. There was a 30% off sale at the Value Villages this week, and so of course I had to drop in and check out what the book selection was all about. I had to take another carload of stuff out of my place, and I got 2 coupons instead of 1. Those coupons get you 20% off when you spend 50 bucks, so anything over 50 bucks, you're paying the normal price. You still buy 4 books and get the 5th free, so there's a lot of stacking going on there, but there's that $50 cap. This 30% off deal, across the board. I thought I wasn't going to find anything because I went maybe 3 weeks ago to this Valley Village, and the shelves were pretty lean. I think they're moving things around to different branches or something like that. But I lucked out. I didn't think I would, but I did. I got 16 books. I thought I got 20 books and 5 of them were for someone else, but it turns out it was 21, and somehow I believe I only paid for 20. So something went wrong with the checkout system. So I got a bonus on top of it. So massive savings. It should have technically been over about 80 bucks. Where's the receipt? 19, 20. Yeah, no, I definitely got 1 book free. So it should have come to about $82. I got them all for like 50 bucks. Massive haul. Let's start with the mass market paperbacks. I got some paperbacks and then I got some hardcovers and whatnot. So we'll go one stack at a time. It's kind of a mix of a bunch of stuff. We'll talk about it when we get there. So I talked about the Piers Anthony books on this channel early on, and I've got a vlog out there that puts a couple thoughts together after I ramped through the first 4 in the collection I have, which I bought at this same Value Village 20 years ago. 30 years ago. Oh my God, I was in my teens. 20, wow, time flies. It was in the 90s. And I ended up getting novels 1 to 9, and then I got 14. And at the time, Piers Anthony was always on those shelves there. And then when I went back to buying books at this Valley Village for this channel a year and a half ago, I went back for Piers Anthony, to be honest, and because I hadn't read any of them yet, right? Now, my thoughts are in a vlog somewhere about Piers Anthony's writing and style and narrative and how the world building goes and how the character development works. And so I thought I read 1 to 4, and I was like, I'll take a break. Take a break. But I enjoyed the world building, even though there's some quirkiness in it that's odd. I like it. So at the very least, I wanted to eventually find books 10, 11, 12, 13, because I could at least close the gap between 9 and 14. So I lucked out, and there were a bunch of Piers Anthony books back there. I'm telling you, for like a year and a half, I hadn't, like, they disappeared. There was like a full collection at one point. I decided not to get them because the condition, I was like, maybe I'll wait. I'm like, what do you mean wait? These books are so old. I made a call to, if I saw Piers Anthony again, I would at least close the gap, and then I would decide. After 14, I would decide. Anyways, I found 3. I mean, 3 that I needed. They're 10, 11, and 13. So I'm missing 1 along the way, which is unfortunate, but I got this one right here, Man of Mundania. Again, I mean, it's got wear and tear. This one's probably the better of the versions of them, but they're older books, you know what I mean? So it's all good. I got Veil of the Vole. This one's probably the one in the worst condition. This cover's a little ripped. The spine is definitely bent. It's warped. It's creased, but whatever. I wish they would just put Piers Anthony's together in their stocking shelves. Just like sometimes there's like 6 or 7 books. It's easy to tell where the author is. Just put other books of that author, and then I'm spot the authors. I'm literally in there sometimes looking for books, and I'm organizing the shelf because of my OCD. I'm organizing the shelf for them so that it's easier for other people who might want the series to come around. Anyways, and then I got Isle of View as well. And this one is actually in relatively, I'm not going to say perfect condition, but there's literally no creases on that spine. The pages are, of course, older, but, oh God, I turned it around. But then there's like warpage on the back there with the glare. You can kind of see. Anyways, doesn't matter. There were a bunch of other Piers Anthony books there, I think, from other series, like some sci-fi series, I think, was in there. I think people have talked about it in the comments, but I didn't end up getting it because I was already there for a long time, and I was just like, let me get through these Piers Anthony books, and then, oh, there it is. It was the Incarnations of Immortality series. I think there were some from there. There was more, man. Let me look at these titles and see if they stand from. Okay, yeah, it was this one right here. It was the Battle Circle trilogy. I saw Orn there and Ox there, for example. Yeah, some of these are sounding familiar. I think it was just someone's Piers Anthony collection. There's also the Cluster series. There's the Incarnations of Immortality series, which people have talked about. There's 6 books in there or something. I've seen those ones pop up here and there. And I'm at least mildly curious to see how Piers Anthony writes anything that's not this sort of quirky fantasy wordplay kind of stuff, and see how he deals with the characters in those other books. I am a little bit curious. Anyways, so that's the Piers Anthony books. I ended up finding another Anne McCaffery book for the Dragons of Pern series. So we got White Dragon here. And again, for an old book, it's actually like, there's only 1 crease. There's a little bit of bowing on the spine, but it's a pretty sturdy book. I mean, the back cover's got some damage on the corner, but these were all pretty cheap. Like this one for $2. Like I rarely ever see books for $1.99 ever. I mean, usually you'll get a mass market paperback for $2.99, or $2.49 or something like that. It was another one of these White Dragon books there that were not in very good condition. I could see it being for $1.99, but anyways, maybe they saw that one and they're like, oh, the other one's for $1.99. Maybe they decided the other one's $1.99, put this one for $1.99. The book qualities conditions were completely different. The good thing with this series, as I was looking at my list of the spreadsheet, because there was other Anne McCaffery books in there, but they looked like they were science fiction. I'm not sure what they were part of. There was like Dragon Planets of the Dinosaurs. There was like the Dinosaur Planet or something. Maybe it was a series that popped up there, which I was curious about. But again, I'm not sure how many books were in there. I'm not really tracking against them. And so I didn't want to fall down that other rabbit hole. I'm going to try to finish the Dragons of Pern first. The great thing with tracking these down without a spreadsheet is that almost every title of every book in the series has dragons in it or Pern in it. So, hey, that's probably, like, for marketing reasons, probably a really good decision too, but it makes it very easy to find. There were a bunch of Asimov books there. This is from the Robot series, The Naked Sun. This is one of the ones that I'm missing. I think it's a trilogy. I had one of the books for the Robot series, and so I picked this one up. And again, for the size of this book, it's smaller than these other mass market paperbacks, but this one's for $3.49. Probably more collectible, right? I'm not sure if there's a print thing. Value Villages usually don't take that kind of stuff into consideration. I just looked at the cover price for this in Canada. It's like $12 for this small paperback, so it couldn't have been printed that long ago. That price range feels relatively modern. That's crazy. 1991? Why the heck was this $12 in 1991? That's crazy. I was buying books for like $4 in 1991. I'm pretty sure, or $5. Anyways, there you go. The Naked Sun. There were a bunch. Oh, for a series called The Robot City, and there might have been 7 or 8 of these books. I'm like, part of me regrets not picking up all of them because it felt like they could have been fun. They looked very pulpy. The covers were really nice. They were really cool. But then I was like, how many books are in this series? And I've never seen that series before, but it's called Robot City, if anyone's familiar with those. So maybe I'll go back and pick them up. The sale is over today, so I'd have to go today if I want to get the 5th one free, 30% off, blah, blah, blah. They were relatively cheap too. I have no idea why I didn't pick them up. It was stupid. I'm looking at the Foundation titles there, and I'm near certain I found other Foundation books there, and I thought I had them all. I didn't know there were 6 books in the series. I got 3 of them. So I might have left some Foundation books behind. There was a lot of Asimov. Holy crap. Let's move on to the paperbacks. In a previous haul, many, many months ago, maybe a year ago, I'm not even sure when I got this one, I ended up finding a hardback, and I needed one of those, either the 5th book or the 10th book kind of scenario, so I could walk out with one book free. And this one, I mean, the cover looked interesting. I looked up a quick review of it. It had a high rating score. And so I picked it up. It was called Beyonders, A World Without Heroes. It was in the YA section, but again, that cover just looked like a fantasy kind of a D&D-esque kind of cover, and I was like, whatever, I'll give it a shot. It's by this author called Brandon Mull, and also says author of the Fablehaven series. So I didn't really think twice when I picked up this book. I was in one of those scenarios again where I had 12 books and I had to find 3 more, and so I was hunting around the YA section again, and I ended up finding book 2 and 3 of Beyonders as well. Now, their condition, of course, could be better. There's some creases there on the corner. There's some rippling on the edges here and some tears. But it was book 2 and book 3. Same thing. The conditions weren't perfect. There's some creases and warpages. The spine itself seems relatively good, but it's just the fraying on the corners here. It was probably in a backpack, a student backpack or something like that. I imagine the student was reading this like a younger person, right? Oh, Alex, I guess. Well, Alex D, and that writing definitely looks like a child's writing. So there you go. I got the full series of Beyonders, and book 1 was there for the paperback edition too, and I'm like, I could get them all to look the same. I'm like, look, I don't even know if I'm gonna like these. I just want to read something that was getting really high rated reviews. It was like rated 4.6 to 4.8 out of 5 or something like that. I'm like, that's really high. I like to sometimes evaluate the ratings that people give a book, or at least the average of the ratings, versus like my experience reading the book. Anyway, so while I was there, and so Fablehaven, again, quality of these books are a little weird. I'm assuming they're both owned by Alan. I shouldn't be saying that name. It's crazy because if the person's in the city and they see it and they're like, oh, those were my books. I doubt it. I doubt that's going to happen. Anyways, there's some fraying and there's some bending. This kid, really enjoy them, I suppose. So they can't be wrong for that. We have volume 1 of Fablehaven. We have volume 2 of Fablehaven, Rise of the Evening Star. Conditions a little bit better on these, but just assume all the conditions a little. Hey, this one's got a bejeweled thing in the middle there, and it is glued on there. Anyways, $3.50 each, can't go wrong. I mean, I saw them as a title and they have different spines, but for some reason I was scanning the shelf. They were all over the place. They weren't together. But as I was passing through it and I was seeing Mull, I was like, that looks familiar, because I saw these ones before I saw these Beyonder ones, and I was like, that sounds familiar. And then I saw the Beyonders and I was like, oh, it's the guy from the hardcover that I have, blah, blah, blah. But then when I pulled them out of the shelf, I pulled one out of the shelf and I realized the book covers were here, and I was like, wait, I think I've seen at least 3 of them. So then I started pulling them or organizing the shelves for Value Village. And as I got to organizing them, I got more and more books into the series. Anyways, there's book 3 of Fablehaven. There's that Grip of the Shadow Plague, involving centaurs and satyrs and whatnot, who knows, to finish my story. So as I got 3 together, and then I eventually found the 4th, and I was like, the 5th one has to be here. If the whole set is here, I'm just going to commit to Fablehaven as well and give it a shot. We got this one with a dragon on it, Secrets of the Dragon Sanctuary. So book 4. And again, if it wasn't for these here, I wouldn't be able to confirm that these weren't doubles, etc. I mean, there might have been one double of Fablehaven, like book 1. And then we got Fablehaven, Keys of the Demon Prison. So bam, book 5. Again, spine, a little bit damaged. They get less and less damage as they go deeper into the volumes. But they were read because, I mean, the spine is creased. So this kid loved these books, I guess. And like I said, I am interested in reading these just because, I mean, they're YA. They're probably going to be easier reads. And I like to see why they're so damn high in the scores. I randomly pulled out a book that this was the spine I saw. And so there was nothing really compelling about the design of the spine. But I was desperate for that last book I needed so I can leave. This was probably the 10th book at the time. I ended up staying, of course, buying more. Dark Dreams of the Ancient Arctic Ajit. And I was like, Dark Dreams. I mean, I thought it was a graphic novel, and it was sort of close to where the graphic novels are kept. It was for $6. It was a little expensive, so I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a graphic novel. And when I flipped through it, well, it wasn't. It looks like a short story anthology. There's some art in it. I should just flip past something. Let's take a look together. So each story beginning has an art. That's nice. So there you go. See, it's a horror. So I was like, okay, in my realm. I mean, I read the back real quick. I hadn't seen the art. I actually flipped open the front cover just to see like what this was, so I could make a decision on whether to bring it home with me or not. And I saw a table of contents, so I was like, oh, it's a short story compilation. It looked like it was short stories from like Inuit cultures and stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah, for sure, I want this. I mean, had I seen the art in this book, I was like, oh, I'm definitely getting this. Drum sounds. So fables maybe that are up there, or I don't know. I mean, it's in the title, right? It says here, in ancient times, shamanistic storytellers populated the Arctic, taking their inspiration from this ancient Inuit storytelling tradition. Respected writers Sean A. Tinsley and Rachel A. Kitswalik accessed their insight into Arctic shamanism, creating a world based on the power lore of the ancient North, etc., etc., etc. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like it's something up my alley, and I'd definitely like to check it out. So bam, this came home with me. And then I saw, well, I mean, Batman on the spine there. I was like, oh, it's probably a graphic novel, and like crazy hardcover. And it's a weird kind of hardcover because it doesn't feel like a normal book. And why? Because look at where the pages go. They go right to the edge. And when you feel them, it feels like cardboard. It feels like this entire thing is like they're like plastic pages. They even sheen like plastic. I have no idea what this is. I've never seen a binding like this. It is part of that DK press, which I said I was going to start hunting down more books for. But anyways, it's Batman, The World of the Dark Knight. I'm like, I thought maybe is this a movie thing? That looks like a Jim Lee cover right there. His hatching is familiar to me from the 90s and some Batman art that he's done, of course, along the years. But when you flip it open, it's got the early Batman logo. And I was like, oh, that's kind of neat. And as you keep flipping, that's a Jim Lee for sure. Pretty sure. Forget what cover that's for. I've read a lot of Batman. I own a lot of Batman. I love Batman. Everything Batman. So I was like, I'll just give this a shot. And it looks like there's a history of Batman in here. It's a DK book, right? They kind of give you, it's like an encyclopedia-esque of stuff. But there could be lore from across the media. The early like 60s books, 70s. It's the old stuff, right? And it talks through the entire, I mean, it's got some Dick Grayson there from the New 52 era. Those are good stories, actually. There you go. So it keeps going. Anyways, so Flashpoint, that's like really modern. Like, that's crazy. Because that's when I stopped reading again, comics. It was a Flashpoint started. That was maybe 10 years ago at this point. Time flies, man. Anyways, there you go. So as you can see, like, whatever the page binding is there that makes these look like plastic and like it's right against the edges, this feels just like, it feels like a brick, man. It's heavy, and the pages are heavy. But you saw me flip through it, and they just look like normal pages. They just look like normal pages, man. So I'm not sure. Then I found one book, and I think it was the color. I found this in the art section, and this, oh, I was gonna speak about it later. The smell that comes off these books. This feels like an older book, and I'm trying to scan my shelves. I had like an art book, fairies book, that is from the 70s as well, and I loved it. I loved it as a kid. It was very kind of oh my god, the smell is crazy. I loved it as a kid, and I kept flipping through it, and I'm gonna find it. There's context here. It was this book right here by Brian Fraud and Alan Lee. I love flipping through this and learning about lore, and that art sketching style was something that was very inspirational to me along the way. Anyways, it's just a cool book. I love this book, Fairies. Again, one of the earliest of these kinds of books I had as a young teenager, I believe. And so when I saw this spine, for some reason, it just brought me back to that. Maybe it was the font, the typeface is what made me pull this book out. I pulled it out, and bam, it was a fantastic people's book, and I was like, okay, magical races, myth and legend, I'm gonna get this. Alan Scott and Michael Scott Rohan. I'm gonna flip this open and the smell's gonna nail me, and I'll explain it in a sec. But as I flip it open, it's like, you can tell by the binding this is like an older book. This is likely a 70s binding. You can just tell. Oh, the smell is so overwhelming. And I'm gonna flip through a couple of these pages. It had that similar, immediately had that similar design vibe, and like the art that is in here just had that old art collection book, like myth, lore. Flip through a couple more because I gotta move the, oh my god, the other books are falling. The Tower of Books. I'm gonna move the sleeve out of the way because I feel like I'm gonna damage something if I keep going. I'm almost at the midway point, and where the smell is coming from, it feels like a book that was around a lot of mothballs and just like an old book. The binding feels a little old. Anyways, middle of this book, someone had, oh, sorry for all the noises. Someone had flattened the flower in here, probably decades ago. There's the wax paper with a dried flower or rose that might have been in here at some point. I don't know if that's what's contributing to the smell or it's a 70s smell. But anyways, that art design style, the book, I'm gonna love this book, but I'm not sure how to air something like this out. It's a really nice binding outside the sleeve though. It looks like one of those library editions that I used to like spend a lot of time in the university library back in the day. Like the periodical bindings, I've always loved the look of them. But anyways, it's got the sleeve on there, and I gotta move this away from me. It's literally, it's so powerful. I gotta move this away from me. If someone knows what causes that smell outside of it being possibly mothballs, I'm not sure. But then, while navigating the shelves deeper down, I saw another spine that kind of looked familiar. Again, look at the font, the typeface. If I can stop the glare. It feels familiar, right? Like, here's my fairies book from like 3.5 decades ago, right? But that memory, the memory of having this book is what made me pull both these books out. But this one even has, like, it's the same tone of cover. So I pulled out Giants, and it's like fairies, Giants. I'm like, is this part of the same series set? I'm not sure. But for $2.99 for a hardcover, this fantasy book with similar drawn style. Like, again, I have to look at the artists, like who these people are. But illustrated by Juliet Heller, Carolyn Scrace, and Juan Wingard, if that's pronounced properly. So it's not even like the old school guys, Brian Fraud and Alan Lee. But anyways, the art style looks very, very familiar to that look and feel, you know? And there's similar paintings. It's a vibe. It's not that it's the artists are like mimicking each other. I guess it was just a vibe of like these earlier years, you know? That art, just fantasy art, just had a look to it, and a quality and a design and the quality. Like, look at that. Look at the art on the back there, man. That's crazy. I could look at this all day, man. I love this so much. But wait. But wait, what's crazy is these guys must have been inspired by that fairies book, because you see pages like this with the font, where the font looks like writing, is something that's in that fairies book. And let me see, this right here. And even here, look at the typeface on that Giant Lifestyle, like even stuff like that. It looks like it's handwritten, and it has to be inspired by that other book. Let's look at the year of this real quick. 1966. So this also has that very mothball-y smell. Now I'm actually wondering if these books are older than the fantasy book, the fairies book. That would be crazy, because this is like, look at these. I took really good care of my books, man. There's no smell whatsoever. So I would have bought this maybe in the 90s. I mean, that's when I got it. Okay, 1978. So it's a decade later. So almost absolutely this one took inspiration. I'll show you the font. I don't know why I could spend a whole vlog talking about this, right? But see the font change there where it looks like it's handwritten? Look at that. Even look at the titles. Pixies up there. Just saw the font earlier. Are they the same publisher? Why am I getting stuck on this? Look, I don't know, man. I get stuck on these things, okay? It is. It actually is the same publisher. Yeah, Harry and Abrams Inc. Okay, so it's the same publisher. That would make sense then. Why this, like, the spiritual callback from the shelves was calling me to get Giants. Again, for $3? That's a crazy deal, man. Let's see the other book. See if it was Abrams. It was not. This was the one that called out to me first, though. Oh, here we go. Gonna open it up again. Let's see when this one was published. 1980s. This book feels and smells like the oldest book in this set. Holy crap. That's crazy. Perot Publishing Limited. Whole different publisher. Smells the oldest. And yet it is the most current of the books. So there you go, 16 books for about $50. It was a good haul. Nice hardcovers for my collection. We got some extra Xanth books to fill up the gap. We got some Asimov. We got some Dragons of Pern. I got entire Mull series completed, and I'm happy. I'm happy with this haul. I had just cleared my desk of about 60 books. I've got about 20 library books that were gifted to me as well from someone who has access to library book sales. So I got 20 of those books. I need to do just a vlog on. I know very little about those because those ones are random. I get them and then they're parts of collections. Then I hunt down the rest of the collections. So if they're trilogies, etc., or like an author that I had never read before, I get to investigate them. So I'll do a vlog on that one real quick as well. And I'll clear my desk once more and we'll be at the starting line. Hopefully at some point my desk will not have extra books on them except for the books that I'm currently reading, which of course will also be a TBR vlog in the future as well. I've been cranking through some books to try. I have to get through some of these books. I have to get through these books. So we're going to wrap up this vlog. I'll catch you in the next one. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire, buddy. Peace.